working on it. There we go. Okay, so we're recording. Let me go in. Oh, I got to go back to the page.
Oh. Katie just emailed me on my BYU account for the link, so I guess I'll email it back to her really quick, and hopefully she'll...
Yeah. See, maybe just they don't check their Gmail because it's not BYU.
Okay. Well, I sent the link through my BYU account, so they shall see it there. I guess maybe next week we could post the link in the discussion board, and maybe then that way everyone can get to it. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
So, anyways.
Okay, so for the relevance this week, so it has the cute little PowerPoint that it goes over the health belief model. We can kind of read through that if you want. So that I don't know if you're taking any of the other health science classes, but I think we're doing this, like all these models in like 3 of other of my classes. So I'm like modeled out.
Confusing keeping all the classes straight.
Okay, so I'll just read through some of those. So on that first slide, it says the health belief model in action. It says, suppose you're concerned about a group of serious suburban blues musicians who were heavy smokers, and you wanted to encourage them to quit smoking. You set out to conduct a health promotion campaign using the HBM and begin developing information materials straight from the 6 constructs. You developed some brochures, internet materials that contain very clear information about the risk and severity of lung, throat, and other cancers, as well as emphysema caused by smoking.
Hey. We just started reading the PowerPoint, so you're right on time.
Perfect. Let me get to my PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's just right on that relevance page, so I'm just on like the second slide.
Hey, Erica. We're just reading the PowerPoint, or Kara's reading the PowerPoint for us.
Hi.
Hi, guys. Sorry.
Slide, if you want to pull that up. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, so you even throw a few graphic pictures. Okay. You put together some flyers, posters, web ads, and radio spots advertising a number of quit smoking programs and products that are relatively inexpensive or covered by insurance, and promise that clients will be smoke-free in a month. You're trying to show the costs of quitting are low. Then in the same flyers, posters, and ads, you include testimonials from people who've quit and who are ever so happy about their new state of being. You include those because you are trying to show the benefits are great. 4 constructs down, 2 to go. Now you need a cue to action. What will you use? Luckily, you find out about a famous musician who recently died of cancer because of smoking. You somehow are able to get some quotes from his wife saying, if only he had quit, and soon. You put the information in blues clubs and music stores, figuring it ought to inspire some action. Now you just have 1 construct to go. For self-efficacy, you put together a brief steps to quitting book entitled 1, 2, 3 Quick, congratulating yourself on the music-related title. Then you send out some trained quit coaches to provide a free starter demonstration at local YMCAs at the meeting of the local musicians union. Yeah, Daddy's going to have to help you tonight, okay? Give me just a minute. Okay, does someone else want to read for a second? So we're on 7.
Yeah, I can. Oh, go ahead, Katie.
Okay, I'll read. So, got all the constructs covered, right? Do you think it will work? After all, you took the HBM by the book and plugged it right into your program components. Suppose you followed up 3 months later and find out that not one of your musicians has quit or even tried. Most of your pamphlets, flyers, and other information have been tossed or not used. Barely a handful of people came to the free quitting demonstration. What in tarnation happened? You just succumbed to the easy program structure illusion. The key to avoiding the easy program structure illusion is to first do some research and then target your program and the theory to the people you're trying to help. Second, don't think of the theory as a complete story. It is a tool, a guideline, and a framework to help you develop an effective program. Let's redo this using the same participants. What would you do different? Focus group, interviews, musicians, cost benefit, no insurance, priority is getting a gig, no time to take off to attend a class for a month, social benefits. Focus on your perceived severity, themes, shifts from the disease consequence of smoking to the potential cost of losing future gigs and careers. Maybe you have a tagline that says, got throat cancer, can't get gigs, got lung cancer, can't get gigs. Or Charles is a blue man, he smoked 3 packs a day, now his only audience is a couple of nurses. To demonstrate that the cost of quitting are relatively low, this time you focus on quitting smoking, validates that the blue musicians could really use like the nicotine replacement patch, which is easily available at local grocery stores and pharmacies and doesn't take critical time away from performing. Mammography screening intervention. In Maryland, outreach initiatives have been unsuccessful engaging low-income African American women in mammography screening. Using the HBM, a culturally targeting intervention was implemented to promote a no-cost mammography screening program. Data was collected from women 40 years and older on their history of mammography use and their knowledge and beliefs about breast cancer. A 50% screening rate was achieved among 119 eligible participants. Significant predictors of screening behaviors were perceived barriers, lack of insurance, and limited knowledge. Someone else want to read?
Yeah, I can read the last couple. The weaknesses or critiques. The HBM primarily focuses on individual decisions and does not address social and environmental factors necessarily. Calculations will vary based on the kinds of information and interpretations being made. The HBM assumes that everyone has equal access to and an equivalent level of information from which to make a rational calculation. Does not account for disparities in knowledge. H factor, recognizing barriers. And then it just looks like it has the model on slide 14. And that's it.
Okay, so we move on. So we're just going to go through the questions. So the first question asks, to summarize how the health belief model works. I think that the PowerPoint did a pretty good job of that. So in my opinion, I think basically you have the set constructs and you kind of just go through a process. So, but I think the main thing that I got from the PowerPoint especially is that you have to research your target population, because if you don't know your population and you just do a generalized program, then it's not going to work because you're not specific to your target. So,
yeah, I think you're right. With the health belief model, if you don't focus on like what the target population is, then like it doesn't specifically have it in the model, but you have to like incorporate it with the model.
You have to personalize it for each group of people you're applying it to.
Right.
Because what works for me isn't going to work for a musician, you know, so you have to take into account personalities and interests and what motivates them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually worked for the Truth Campaign for one of the events they did, and I actually see a lot of stuff on TV. I know you guys have probably seen their commercial with like the crazy creature in class. So I know their main target is trying to prevent it before or trying to change the behavior, but their focus is on like high school age students or college age students, so more adolescent or young adult age. So I think they've done that really well with their commercials and their ads and things like that. So, and I know as far as when the event that I was doing, they actually had a concert, and they had everyone come out to this free concert, and it was like it was a really popular band and everybody came out and then they were promoting all these crazy things. So it was really cool. So I think that kind of was applicable to this belief model.
Yeah. They do stuff that's beneficial, not just random stuff.
Right. Okay, so discuss the processes and how they relate to the stages of the model. So basically that's kind of the different constructs. So we had, so the perceived, or they, let's see, the constructs are perceived threat, perceived barriers, the perceived susceptibility, the perceived seriousness and severity, perceived benefits, and then the likelihood of taking recommended preventative health action. So, yeah, I think like I said, I think from especially from the PowerPoint, like that was making it clear that you have to go kind of through the process. And so once you kind of completed this task, you go to the next one. And then I thought it was really interesting. I actually kind of looked some of this up online, or maybe it was in my book. I can't remember. But it was talking about that the perceived susceptibility is one of the biggest constructs, because if they perceive that they can and they have like knowledge of why it affects them, then they're more likely to change the behavior. So,
well, and it seems like if they don't have the perceived susceptibility, none of the other steps are going to even matter. If they don't even realize that I actually am at risk for developing breast cancer or whatever it might be, if they don't feel that way, then why would they do any of the other steps?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think the next important construct would probably be the barriers, because from barriers you know which benefits you can do to outweigh the health barriers for that specific target population too. Like right after you.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think everything else kind of works hand in hand for the most part. Yeah. Okay. So let's see, going on to number 3, what kind of interventions centered on the processes move people through the stages? This one, because I kind of read through this before we met, and it goes through some of these a little bit in the PowerPoint, and I feel like in the reading, I feel like last week we had a lot more information towards interventions versus this week for this model. Yeah. So I looked it up some just from different sources, and in one of my books from a different class I'm taking that we're going over the same thing. But some of the interventions that it was talking about, it said like one of the most basic was like starting with advice, because obviously if you're trying, so it's more on like a one-to-one basis. It almost felt like this whole model is more on a one-to-one basis. Like you're targeting as a whole, but you're really like everything's kind of individualized, I guess, depending on.
Or you're trying to target like a specific, like the musicians, blues musicians are like a specific type of person, not just people who smoke.
Right, yeah. And so the only ones that it really said that I found in kind of researching it was like starting with advice, and it was talking about just, giving advice and then it kind of making the light bulb click on, basically. And then the other one was talking about motivational interviewing techniques, and it said that was the most effective for this one. So I thought that was interesting, but those are the only ones that I really came up with, and that was outside of this class material. So I don't know if anyone else knows of interventions for this, though.
I know in our reading they did have the example of like breast cancer screenings, and they had like the different ways they did it, and I know they had like letters, but they specified the letters to people that had specific barriers, and so they would change according to like which people they were sending them to.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I think like you're saying, it's more of a one-on-one. Like you have to think of the masses, but you have to be able to change a lot of it according to specific needs, barriers, or people that are looking for specific benefits.
Yeah, so, yeah, not a one plan fits all kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we move on, let me go back. So then we go over this scenario. Let's see. Over that. So it says peer and parental influences compete and often conflict. As youth approach early adulthood, they decide upon ways they wish to present themselves to others and count the costs of doing so by gauging the reactions they get. Attendant to this process is psychosocial risks and rewards. For example, the choice between acceptance by peers and rejection by parents and other authority figure factors into the decision-making process for behavior in general. We imagine this to be more consequential when individuals contemplate getting something as permanent as a tattoo. So what is the behavior behind tattooing? This is talking about like older adolescents in general, so like high school age students. So what do you guys think is the behavior behind their thought process for getting a tattoo?
I think it has a lot to do with individuality. It's like kind of something high school students are trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
The way that they kind of do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say something like they were like a rebellion.
Rebellion.
But that kind of goes in with individuality. You know, you're trying to rebel from the norms.
Yeah, so more like trying to be independent, I guess, is what we're all saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think high school, yeah, you're just trying to do your own thing, and it's your way of being an adult, and this is what you're going to do. Because you have the resources, and you can make that decision on your own.
And it's kind of like an outward expression of what you just said for them is what a tattoo is.
Yeah.
And it can show like control, like they have control over what they can put over their body or put on their body, and their parents can't stop them, or because it's their body and they can do what they want, kind of mentality.
Yeah, I think that's the main one that we all think of. What are some other ones? I think sometimes it can be like a social thing, like everyone, I know.
Like peer pressure.
Yeah, peer pressure. I know I had groups of friends in high school, like one person got one and they were like, oh, this is so cool, so I'm going to get one because you did, just to prove that I can do it too, So, yeah.
Also, like that age, your prefrontal cortex isn't all there, if you know what I mean. And so, like, the decisions that last for a long time, you don't necessarily see. Like, you're in high school, so you think, like, I'm invincible. Kind of like things lasting forever don't really seem real because you've been alive for like 16 to 18 years, and you don't really understand.
Well, sometimes it's like
you don't understand that lasts for your whole life.
It's like the consequences aren't really considered yet.
Yeah,
getting a
giant tattoo, like dirty needles and like HIV and AIDS that could come from it if they don't go to the proper place, or like that kind of thing.
Or even like my cousin got a giant tattoo right here, and it's ginormous. And she had a really difficult time getting a job, and she thinks it's because she had this ginormous, and not that that's right, that they discriminated against her, but I think it just kind of happens that way sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like what everybody's saying, so basically they don't think of the risks. I think sometimes being tattooed, I don't think there are a lot of risks and attention in that form of why they're not established, I guess, is the best way to say that. So, because I know everyone's like, yeah, you can get infected, yeah, you have to go to the right place, but I've even heard of several places that, I've seen on the news, like they get shut down because they're not up to code. And that's things that you don't think about at 18. You're not like, let me research which tattoo place, make sure it's clean. You're just like, oh, let's go to this place on the corner because it only cost me $50 versus $200, So I think like the established risks aren't there for that as well. So it just seems
you don't even think about them.
Yeah.
People don't even really talk about it that much. Like when you're in high school, if you don't like take health classes, you don't know about like dirty needles or anything.
Yeah.
Unless it's happened to you or someone you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Okay, so let me see what else we have. So I think we got that pretty well. Then it just goes into the application, and it says to go over the instructions together, and then we can kind of go through some of it. I'm short on time tonight, so I'm going to read through this, and we can kind of go over it. I don't know if anybody else has looked at it. It looks pretty easy this week. So, and I think we all just seemed. I did pretty well last week, so, and I think that's from us going over it. So, if you want to pull that up. So it just talks about, so the instructions are just apply the health belief model with adolescents at risk of likelihood of being tattooed, interest of being tattooed, getting another tattoo, and apply it to this worksheet. So basically what we were just talking about. So number one is the overview. So again, just
Chad just had like a little chat bubble that said, "Can you hear me?" Have you been trying to talk, Chad? Poor Chad.
Sorry, Chad. I don't ever look at my screen. So, if you want to try to like hang up and then add back in, we can wait for you.
I was wondering why you were so quiet. Why you so quiet?
I know, right?
Like Chad.
Yeah, I just always have my screen, like all my stuff pulled up, so I never even look at the actual everybody's faces. So
you can kind of tell because people's eyes are just kind of like all over.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, there he is. Are you there, Chad?
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, we were just saying that we never look at our screen, so we have everything else pulled up in front of us. Did you want to make a comment?
This is, for me, something I've had to deal with quite a bit. I used to be a correctional officer in California, so I had to deal with the tattoo issues and talking to inmates about the dangers of tattoos, why you may not want to do that. And from my perspective, if there's a school where there's a lot of kids that have tattoos, it could be gang related. So if that's the case, they're not going to tattoo parlors, so they're risking getting hepatitis C and all kinds of other stuff, and they may not know the dangers associated with that, with using needles that have been used on other people, and so all of those things are things that you'd have to be able to teach them, or teach really any kids, because I knew kids in high school that used homemade tattoo guns, even though that was 100 years ago for me.
100 years. Okay.
Well, I'll put it this way. Today's my birthday, and the kids that are graduating from high school this year were born the year I graduated, so.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. What a fun way to spend it.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I think with this kind of a thing, you got to look into the motivation behind the tattoos. I think that's really important, because then you can start to address the other issues once you understand the motivation and their paradigm and what the tattoos really mean to them.
Yeah, and I think that, again, goes along with what we were saying. I think that's a perfect example, because we were talking about with this model, it's not only important to understand that you're focusing, like for this instance, we're focusing on like high school adolescents, maybe probably a little older, or even young adults, but it's also important to understand what target you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with gang-related issues, then it might be more important to focus on disease risks and things like that. Or if your target is just like college students that are just doing it for fun, maybe it's more like the potential, like why you wouldn't want to have one later on in life, or things like that. So yeah, I think that was great. Thank you. So So just real quick, so we're going to go over the assignment really quick. So that number 1 is just, again, just an overview of everything. We kind of went over that right after we did that one with the PowerPoint, so I think we can kind of reflect back to that. The number 2 goes into the application to that specific issue about tattooing. And it says, what individual interventions are you developing to apply to the constructs as a health educator? And it says in parentheses from the 8 different types. I'm pretty sure this is from the table that we did like a couple of lessons ago. We had to do that big table and submit it. So you're going to be pulling from that. And then...
So when we do this table, we're doing it based on the tattoo issue that we've just been talking about. Okay. That was my question on it. I didn't know if we were supposed to come up with one or if it was the tattoo.
Yeah, no, so in the instructions, so it says, so adolescents at risk of being tattooed, interested in tattoos, or obtaining another or a tattoo in general. So, again, it's adolescents, so what we were talking about, so probably more like high school aged kids, you know. Everything
and it also says to identify the target population, and is our target populations the ones that are at risk, the ones interested in the ones getting another tattoo? Are those the ones we choose from?
I think, let's see, what do you expect to happen as a result of using that construct intervention on your target population? Yeah, so whatever you're choosing as your, the part above that, you're going to explain, so your target is, like, that is your target, like, kids interested in getting a tattoo. So it's not like the high, not the whole high school population. Yeah, not the people as a whole, but like those specific individuals. And I think you can make that as like descriptive as you want. So if you want to be like, I'm talking about people that already have a tattoo and I'm trying to get them to not get any more, then that would be your target. But if it's just like people interested in all together, then that would be your target.
Okay.
So,
and on number 2, are we supposed to answer those questions, or are those just telling you how to do the boxes?
I think it's just telling you how to do the boxes.
Yeah.
But
okay, that's what I was hoping.
That was my thought.
Yeah, intervention description expected. So yeah, those are the 3 that are down there.
Okay, cool.
So, let's see. Then number 3, limitations for targeted change. I think the PowerPoint had some of those limitations at the end of that. I think our reading also pulled out some of those limitations specific to the health belief model. And then just your thoughts on the model. So, yeah, I think this one should be pretty straightforward. And then we have that, like I said, I think the PowerPoint is going to be the most beneficial for this one, just kind of pull things from that. So, yeah, does anyone have questions or comments?
Nope.
Nothing? Okay. Okay. Well, I am, since it's dinner time here, I have to go make my family dinner. So if you guys don't need me, then I will close this out. But it says that if you want and have time, then you guys can work on this together. If not, then I guess we will just plan on seeing everybody next week at 5:15 Mountain Time.
And who wants to, is there someone who wants to lead that one next week?
I can lead next week's.
Okay, and Katie, I was wondering, instead of emailing the link out, since it seems to be kind of hit and miss when you set it up on Google Air, maybe if you just want to submit it on the actual page as a thread, as like a new thread under. This week? I'm sorry, what was that?
Like on next week's application one?
Yeah, on next week's
relevance.
Yeah, on next week's relevance.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a little discussion board underneath it. If you just want to submit the link, then that way we don't have to worry about whether we get it emailed or not. So.
Yeah, and actually before everyone goes really quick, can I just get everyone's phone number if you want? For all my other groups, it's been really nice just to have it so that way if someone's not there, we can shoot a text really quick and just say, hey, we're meeting, what's wrong?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the chat real quick.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. So everybody just put it in the chat, and then I will copy and paste them in an email and just send it out so we have them. So I'm going to do mine just so in case you want it right here. Perfect.
Drag off your thing. Yeah.
Do you have fun, Emery?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, is everybody in? We got everybody? Yeah? No? Yeah? Okay. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to disconnect then, and good luck. And if you have my number now, so if you guys have questions, just text me.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, bye, guys.
See you next week.
Bye.